This is Paul Heinerth, underwater cave explorer and technical diver. In June of 2013, Paul has returned to a place that is dear to his heart and holds many great memories of his younger days. The place is Keycaulker in Belize, more specifically Giant Cave, that he first discovered and dove in 1978. Paul swims through the tarpon school that inhabits the entrance to the cave system. A large crack in the seafloor at a depth of approximately 20 feet, the same site that greeted him over 37 years ago when he first encountered the system. Dropping into a crack to a hole at the bottom just big enough for a diver to squeeze into with back mount tanks and stage bottles. This time, however, Paul returns with a rebreather, allowing him up to 6 hours of bottom time, with a greatly reduced decompression obligation that would have been necessary with the open circuit system that he originally used in here. This cave siphons tremendously at times. We have experienced many instances when our bubbles were actually going down with the flow. It is just over 80 feet to the bottom. And here he is dropping down the last of what we call the chimney section. Here, he will level off and head into the restriction. This is the same restriction that he originally used a set of doubles on in digging his way into the main chamber. This is one of 2 pinches in the restriction. I imagine this being one of the areas that required quite a bit of digging to get through. This is actually a different dive than the one where he came down the chimney with the water siphoning. You can now see the water flowing against the diver, making it necessary with all of his gear to have to pull himself along the floor. This shot gives you a small idea of the actual size and beauty of Giant Cave. The main room measures over 2,000 feet long and possibly that wide as well. The width, however, is still a bit of a mystery. There is a ghostly fog that moves around the cave that doesn't seem to have any kind of a pattern or much of a smell like you would encounter with hydrogen sulfide. Bringing in a hydrolab to test the water quality and makeup is high on the to-do list for this cave. These formations are massive. This one is about 20 feet across and not even close to being among the largest. The biggest we have seen is in an area we call the Sequoia Room in the southeast section. The visibility has gone from close to 100 feet there in January to maybe 5 feet now in June, so we are not able to shoot in there at this time. Why is the visibility so bad in June? We simply don't know yet. The majority of people who know of Giant Cave most likely read about it in Shea Exley's book, Caverns Measureless to Man. Exley was not only a cave diver, but a pioneer and innovator in all aspects of diving and helped write most of the standards and guidelines by which we follow today. In 1982, Paul put together an expedition to further explore Giant Cave. The expedition members included Paul and Shannon Heinerth, Mary Ellen Eckhoff, Sandy Faring, and of course, Shea Exley. Sadly, Exley was since lost in a deep cave in Mexico while trying to set a world record for depth. Not long after we started diving Giant Cave last year, Chip came across one of his old lines. It is only fitting that Paul would come back and pay tribute to his old friend. Here is the original line that Exley laid back in 1982. I love this shot and would like to say that it was a great honor for me to be able to shoot it. This line is close to 2,000 feet long and goes from almost the northernmost part of the cave back south to the exit. If you are heading north on this line, you can jump directly over the main north-south line and down into Small World, which was discovered and named on the 1982 expedition as well. Here is Paul following the Exley line back south toward the exit. As you can see, it is an absolutely beautiful area of cave. As we headed down the line, we encountered a thick fog that just unexplainably appeared. Within about a minute after this shot, the visibility dropped to 1 to 3 feet. Welcome to Giant Cave. I have to say it was incredible to see Paul Heinerth running line in this cave that I had read about so many years before. After this dive, Paul, Chip, and I were back on the boat, and Paul looked at us with that great twinkle in his eyes and says, "Well, how do you guys like my cave?" He was like a proud father asking if we thought his kid was beautiful. That's an easy one, Paul. We love your cave. My good friend, Robbie Schmittner, was down last December right after we started diving the cave and came across these bones. We think they are tarpon bones, but for now we'll add it to the list of things that need to be confirmed. Just one of the many cool finds so far. Here, Paul runs into a dead end. No problem there. Just turn your head and there you will have another big lead. We have seen quite a few of these crabs in here, some actually walking on the guideline, most of them missing at least one claw. Here, Chip comes in for a closer inspection. The crab does not look too happy about this. This is about 700 feet in the system. How can they possibly survive in here? This is the northeast section of the cave in an area we call Frank's Line, after Frank Mounting, owner of Belize Diving Services for many years after Paul Heinerth. We don't have survey information on most of the old lines, so based on the fact that Frank spent as much time or more time in Giant Cave than just about anyone, when we don't know who laid the line, it's Frank's. Paul comes back up through the restriction to his decompression stop at 20 feet. Looks like the restriction got the best of his rebreather case. Chip and Paul inspect a turn-of-the-century medicine bottle that I just happened to find at the bottom of the chimney on my way out today. Paul thinks the locals may have used this crack in the seafloor as a dump, as he found a few of these bottles way back in the early days as well. And we finish with a smile from Mr. Heinerth as he completes his latest dive in his cave. Thanks, Paul, and safe diving.